Take 3 on the Benelli M1 Super 90 review. That's right, this is the third time I've tried to do this. Somebody's called or whatever, and I'm not real super good at editing, and I don't have anything fancy on this, this phone and stuff, so it's one of my first videos. So here we go. Anyways, Benelli M1 Super 90, 12 gauge, semi-auto, inertia driven. It is a H&K marked, if you can see that. H&K. It's an awesome gun. Like I said in all my other videos, all these guns I have, I'm going to say they're awesome because they are awesome. Otherwise, I wouldn't have spent my money on them. If they're not awesome, they go bye-bye. They will be traded off or sold with great haste. I've got way too many guns in my collection to keep anything around that's, not very good. This one is a 3-inch chamber, 12 gauge. Like I said, inertia driven. It's got rifled sights. 19.5-inch barrel. You can see the barrel sticks out a little bit further, an inch further. That's 1 inch. I measured it past the magazine tube. The magazine tube holds 7 plus 1. 7 in the magazine plus 1 in the chamber. You can ghost load it, which puts 1 on the shell carrier for a total of 8. 9. 8. 7 plus 1, and then the 9th one on the shell carrier. And this gun operates a little bit different than a lot of these standard shotguns that we have, semi-autos in the United States, as it's got this cartridge stop. Basically, you hit this, and it allows the shell to go from the magazine onto the shell carrier. If you don't hit that, you can just sit there and wrap the bolt, and nothing will happen. You can see that it doesn't even lock it open. In order to lock it open, you got to hit that, and then it'll lock it open. So that's pretty cool. And that's a European thing. The way they do that, and what that does is it allows you to take one out of the chamber and replace it without stripping a cartridge, out of the magazine, which is cool, but it's an extra step in the loading process. For a home defense shotgun and stuff, is it necessary? Nah, probably not. But it's there. For some guys, that's the cat's meow. For others, it's kind of cool. It's different. It's definitely different. Got some slugs on there. The guy that owned this shotgun before put some Velcro underneath here to keep it from moving around too much. Moves a little bit, but it doesn't, go back and forth. And this gun is supposedly unfired. I dated it as a 1989. So it's just hit over 30 years old. Potentially 31 years old, because we are now in 2020. But as you can see, this gun is in very good shape. There's really no wear on the gun. I mean, really, I got a little bit of paint up there. I put that on there. It's in very good shape. It's a 3-inch chamber. I'm not a big fan of 3-inch magnums. I can go into that maybe in another video, and that way I can keep this one as short as possible. Try to keep it about 10 minutes. But it does take 3-inch magnums. A lot of people ask, what's the difference between the M1 and the M2? Pretty much in a nutshell, other than some cosmetics and and stuff like that, it's the 3-inch versus 3.5. Do you need 3.5? Well, first of all, the 3.5 to me is definitely more of a waterfowl cartridge. Not that they don't have self-defense loadings and stuff. They absolutely do. They're very hard to find, and they're very expensive. And they're going to kick. 2 3/4. Right here, these slugs, 2 3/4 will get the job done. Plus, the gun holds more. It's going to kick less. Maybe if you were doing, bear country, you may want to go with the Benelli 3-inch Magnum. barrel loads and stuff, that would probably be a good trade-off there. These Foster slugs, I don't think there's any reason to go with the 3-inch, honestly. And then, speaking of buckshot, you get more pellets, but you get a lot more kick, a lot more recoil. The 3-inch double-aught buck or kick just about as hard as anything out there, within reason. They hurt. They hurt. And that's, what else can I say? They definitely hurt. You can hold the gun tight, and after about 5 or 6, you better man up. Even the first 2 or 3, it's not that they can't be done. They just kick. They're not fun. They're not fun. Not for me. And I'm a big guy. They're just not fun. I'm man enough to admit that they're not fun to shoot. 2 3/4 are fine. They got plenty of power. Plenty of power. But like I said, we can go over that another time. I might make a video on that after this, if anybody wants to hear that discussion. And these reviews are more of a discussion on the gun rather than a review of the gun, because I can just go over, it's a 19.5-inch barrel, and this, that, and the review's over. It's more of a little discussion on the gun. Obviously, it is, a defensive style shotgun. Not that you couldn't use it for hunting. I would say this would actually be a really good deer gun. An excellent hog gun. It's a cylinder bore. It does not have screw-in chokes. I kind of wish it did. That way you could put in something that would tighten up that pattern if you decided to do hog hunting. Reach out a little bit further, 40, 50 yards. They got some pretty good chokes for hog, and deer, for buckshot. Not a deal breaker, though. I think it would do fine, in either one of those. Hog, man, this is a hog slayer, really. It is a hog slayer. I'm not sure the laws on the magazine capacity as far as hogs, but deer in Illinois, which is where I'm at, it's 3 rounds. You can't fire more than 3 consecutive rounds. So you can have 2 in the chamber, 1 in the pipe. Being that you can ghost load it, you could have 4 in there. Not advocating for that, but you could have 4 in there. If the game warden catches you, you're going to be in trouble. I did not tell you to do it, so don't do it. This gun is interesting, though, because this magazine extension, let me see if I'll take it off for you. I'll take it's just a nut right here. This magazine extension, I know I'm trying to review the gun, but this magazine extension, if you look at it, it's like it's made into, it's one piece. It's like it's one piece. Is it or not? I don't know. It looks like one piece. That may go down in there. I couldn't get it out. I could not get it out. I was wanting to put a little bit longer magazine extension on it, so that it would be even with the end of the barrel. Just wanted to go just a little bit longer, so it'd be even. The 18.5-inch barrels are even with the end of the magazine extension. Like I said, this one is 19.5. I measured it. It is 19.5. It's not 20. 19.5. So if you see one where it sticks out a little bit further, probably guarantee it's 19.5. That is a factory barrel clamp, and it's actually got a little groove underneath here where this fits in, so when you fire the gun, a lot of times these will start sliding forward as you fire the gun. Before you know it, it ends up coming off. Like this 870, there is no groove where it fits in. It just clamps on by pressure. This is another cool gun, set as they all are. That is definitely an advantage for this Benelli, because I took this off. I replaced this forearm. This forearm isn't the original forearm. The original forearm was a little bit fatter, and it was kind of more like a hunting style forearm, which some of these older HK ones come with. Is the other one. I don't have it here with me right now, and take my word on it, I did change it, and I had to pay money for that. But that is more the Benelli style forearm rather than the H&K one that you see on the H&K marked ones. I don't know if any of the H&K marked ones come with this one. The one that came on it, it was kind of, you know, it had like a diamond pattern right here, rather than being at an angle like this. I think this one looks better. I think it feels better. I'm glad I bought it. I got the other one. It comes off in 10 seconds. It's not that big of a deal. So that's kind of cool. Just an awesome looking gun. This grip is a little fat. I'm surprised nobody else has said anything about that on these Benellis. These Urbino stocks is what they're called. It's a little fat. Like I said, I've got fairly large size hands, so it's definitely a little bit big. The traditional stock is probably what I prefer. But look-wise, man, that's just classic. That's a classic right there. And it's sleeker looking than the M2, in my opinion. Much sleeker looking gun. Obviously, from this point back, it's identical. But from this point forward, it's just sleeker looking. Sorry for repeating myself, but it is. And like I said, the M2 fires a 3.5. For a hunting gun, goose, stuff like that, you know, ducks where you need to reach out, you need more BBs. I understand a 3.5. Turkeys even. Self-defense, not so much. Not so much, dude. Ironically enough, this one right here only fires 2 3/4. This 870. It's a 2 3/4 only. And I have no problem buying older 870s that only fire 2 3/4. I think the only disadvantage is, you know, in a situation where, you know, there is no 2 3/4, all that's left is 3. That would be kind of a bummer. And in that situation, there's so many more 2 3/4 inch shells than there is 3s and 3.5s for that matter, that I think that added bonus is kind of null and void. 2 3/4 is what you're mostly going to find. And most people, not all, but most people after they shoot the 3 are going to simply be like, yeah, this recoils a lot, especially for a self-defense, especially inside the home. Like the number 4 buckshot makes a little more sense in the 3-inch Magnum because it holds 41 pellets. Seems like the smaller the shot, the more it makes sense for a longer cartridge, you know, longer shotgun shell. Slugs, you know, bigger buckshot, you know, 2 3/4. So anyways, back on the gun again. It's, like I said, it's inertia driven. It's pretty easy to load. I'm going to put one in here. Show you how it goes. Put one in there. And like I said, you can rack this. Let's see if I can do it one-handed. You can rack this, and it won't take the shell in there. In order to get the shell in there, you got to hit this button right here. Let's see if you can see that. See that? Then you can rack it up in there. So that's how you load the gun. You know, and obviously if you had more shells in there, that it functions the same. But that's and these are snap caps too, by the way. I think they were like $10 for 10 of them off eBay. And they're pretty cool. I recommend these over like the Zoom or A-Zoom, whatever they're called, those aluminum ones. Man, I don't like those. The edge breaks off on them. Plus they're heavier, and I don't like them. These are just fine. Comes with 10 of them. Most shotguns don't hold 10, so you got a couple extras. See right there. Got a few extra ones. Let me show you the other side of the gun. There's really no marks on this gun. A lot of these, there's the model and stuff. A lot of these are marked up pretty bad because they were police guns. You can see right there a little bit on that edge. Just a little bit of mark. That's about the only marks there. I mean, you can see how close I am on this thing. For an 89, this thing is in very good shape. So, I have not shot it yet. Light field loads. if you listen to Nothing Fancy, he had a couple of these Super 90s, and he said they didn't work with low brass, and it was kind of a bummer because you can't practice with it. I kind of get that to a certain extent, but to another extent, if you're dealing with a semi-auto shotgun, a lot of that cheaper stuff is hard to function, and that really, really, really cheap stuff, the really, really low brass, cheapest, where the brass is really low. I've had it hang up in pumps before where it'll swell, and you got a pile drive, especially 870s. The 590 was the only gun that was chewing it up and spitting it out. All the 870s that we had one night, we're having a problem with that super cheap stuff. Not just as soon as we went with a little bit better ammo. These 870s were rejecting it fine. That dual extractor on the 590, I think, is what you can contribute to, having enough force to pull those expanded holes, because you got to think it's not as high on there, so therefore it's swollen. And to ask the semi-auto to do that, I think you're asking a little much. I really do. Any kind of high brass load, buckshot and stuff, this thing's probably gonna eat it up and spit it out. It's an inertia system. It's pretty simple. It goes off the recoil of the gun. There's no gas system. I got a Mossberg 930 SPX with 18.5-inch barrel. I should have probably pulled it out. I might do a versus video on that. Let me know if you want to see that. I pull them both out and kind of compare them. That might be the first one on YouTube. It's a very cool gun too. Like I said, I know I'm repeating myself. All the guns are cool. Just the way it is. No apologies. But yeah, as long as you feed this thing high brass, it should be just fine. It's a proven design. Unless something's broke on the gun. If something's broke on the gun, it's it is what it is. But across the board, these things usually, even some of the low brass stuff, they chew it up and spit it out. You can have a malfunction. Even if you do have a malfunction on the low brass stuff, I think you have to ask yourself, is this what I'm going to be using in a self-defense situation? If yes, it is, the really cheap stuff is what you're going to be using for whatever reason, don't know. You got to answer that. Then you may say, this gun wouldn't be good for that. Then I agree with that. I don't think that most people are going to use that though. And even higher brass, birdshot, if you use birdshot, is going to function in this as long as it's a little bit hotter load. So, moral of that story is use the proper ammo for it. Don't discard this gun just because it may not like, a really soft shooting load. And even the low recoil, which these aren't low recoil, even the low recoil are still more than enough, for slugs and stuff to function in these types of inertia systems. Unless something's wrong with the gun. You got a canner. These rifle sights are really nice, man. I really like those rifle sights. They look cool too. They just, the ghost rings. I got ghost rings on the Mossberg. The ghost rings are cool. They're definitely nice. They add quite a bit of dimension to the gun where they can snag. Not that that's a big deal. Like I was saying earlier, this gun kind of, whenever I think of the M1 Super 90, I kind of think of super slim, kind of a slim gun, and that's why I got the rifled sights, and they're actually really nice sights. They need a little paint on them. I got some paint coming. Put some paint on them so I can see them a little bit better, because they are black on black, and depending on what you're aiming at, it may not contrast very well with it. Yeah, it's just the trigger on it is okay. If I had one complaint about the gun, and you got to factor in it's an 89, so triggers on shotguns. Well, I shouldn't say that, because that trigger is much better than this trigger. Not that this is a bad trigger. but that trigger on the 870 is better. This thing can belt out some rounds pretty quick. You can put some lead on the target, on whatever paper target or, steel, or even in a home defense. If you got to use it, it's not going to take probably more than 1 or 2 shots, and the threat's going to be done with this. I love semi-autos. They're just cool. More expensive than a pump, generally speaking. Are they worth it? That's up to you. I mean, they always, in these videos, people are always like, well, which one? Why not both? Why not a pump and a semi-auto? Why not both? Then if you decide you don't like this one, or if you don't like that one, then dump it. Get rid of it. Somebody who's willing to buy either one of these guns. Somebody would be more than willing to have one of these, in their arsenal. And I've got, quite a few more. So that's kind of my philosophy on it is why not have both? Whereas, the pump is just an all-around, masterpiece that just, that the racking, the slide, but you should never, I'm of the opinion you should never rely on that. But if you do, you want to rack it, if somebody's in your house, you can. I don't advocate for that. This, you're not going to have that. It's just going to be boom, 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 and it's going to be done. That's going to be all, maybe 3 shots. Boom, boom, boom. Threat's done. Threat's done, dude. They're gone. Unless you complete, even if you don't, even if you miss, that I don't think anybody's gonna be sticking around. Even if it's a 25 ACP, it still sounds like a cannon going off if you're being shot at. This shotguns for home defense, I would say it depends on which type of home defense, and that's something I don't hear a lot of people say. Is not all home defense situations are created equal. I don't have a very big house. I think this would be a little bit overkill in this type of house. It's 1,000 square foot, 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, living room, kitchen, dining room, basement, and that's it. And this wouldn't be real great in here because it's just too long. Now, if you lived on a farm or something, or a bigger house, maybe you got an upstairs, overlooking, like the living room, that could be, I think that's a very good situation for a shotgun. A larger house, like if you're upstairs and the threat's down, it's definitely a shotgun, man. That's like where a shotgun's gonna rock, where you got a little bit of distance. Because, man, I don't know if you want, I don't know if you want to hit anybody, if your life was in danger with this thing, at point blank. The devastation is going to be bad. The threat's going to be over, no doubt, but it's not going to be good. And if they get a hold of it before you get a shot off, or maybe you fire a shot, and that's one cool thing about the semi-auto, you can fire a shot and automatically reloads. With the pump, once you fire a shot, they could grab the gun if you miss them for some reason, and they could grab the gun and keep you from racking another shot. And if they get the gun away from you, that's not good. So that's kind of nice. Well, I kind of prefer a handgun, a little more discreet, up close to you. There is no functioning of the slide on a handgun. Well, there is, but once you have it loaded, it's kind of like this one. You just boom, 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 boom. Threat's probably going to be over. But the Super 90 or the 870 or whichever shotgun you want is definitely a top contender in home defense, and depending on what kind of home defense is, I think is something that you should think about, because every scenario isn't created equal. Every scenario that could happen is potentially different, and I think a lot of people think of one scenario and they put a gun in that one scenario, and they never think about anything else. Like, if they were, if somebody was hiding, they heard something, somebody was hiding, and you got this thing pointed out, and they grab a hold of it, because they're off to the side, whatever. That's kind of how I think about it, with the shotgun. I want a little bit of distance in between me and the person, ideally, if I have a shotgun. You may not always get that if you have something other than, a handgun. A handgun, you can be pretty up close. Pretty close, and still keep it potentially away from them. That's the last thing you want them to do is getting the thing out of your hand. Yeah, this is a little discussion on this gun. Not completely about this gun. It was a little bit of a review. Few things on it. I hope you enjoyed it. It's definitely fun. The time flies by on these. I really didn't think the time would fly by on these as quick as they did. If you think I should shorten these down, let me know. If you like the length. Sometimes I don't like watching 10-minute videos, so like I said, it's definitely pretty fun for me doing these, talking. And I'm gonna try to get a video of this thing shooting here before long. I gotta go to my friend's house. Unfortunately, I don't have a whole lot of places to shoot around. I have no places to shoot around my house, so I gotta go to somebody else's house. And this one is unfired, so you may see the first shots from this fantastic semi-auto Benelli pretty soon. Thanks for watching.